right, greetings, friends, Romans, and countrymen. It's the Critical Drinker here. I'm flying solo on this one today because everything's been out of whack this week a little bit. Muller and I had to do a catch-up stream the other day for Open Bar 60, which we hadn't had time to do because I had to go off to Anime Matsuri in Houston, and then I now have to do one for Open Bar 61, and unfortunately he wasn't available right now because I'm doing this in the morning. This is a really weird experience. I never do like recordings or live streams in the morning. So, wow, I'll just have to do my best to entertain you guys. I mean, I've got a few beers with me, so I guess I'll be okay. But anyway, yeah, there was a bunch of super chats left over from Open Bar 61, and I believe in leaving none of them behind. So let me do my best to answer them for you now. The first one we had here was from Copperhead, who gave me a super sticker for coffee. Thank you, man. Random Stuff Inc. says, petition for Little Platoon to join Hollow Live. I second that. Let's do it. Valhalla Awaits gave me $100 so thank you very much, man. Says, The Broken Baker, check it out. Don't leave here, just pop a new tab. Oh, yeah, we talked about that the other night, actually. Yeah, that was an interesting looking one. Yeah, man, thank you very much for such a generous donation. We will have to have a look at it at some point. The Real Holtzinator says, I'm sure feminists will be happy once we have a female president, just like black activists were satisfied once we had Obama. yeah, that'll be enough for them, I'm sure. I think they might be happy when every president is female going forwards. I'm sure that'll be enough for them, maybe. Coco says, Disparu, up your volume just a smidge. Yeah, he seemed to come through okay for us when we were talking to him, although when I did watch the replay, he did seem slightly quieter than the rest of us. So, yeah, sorry about that. Roger Rubio says, what a great lineup for the Open Bar. Cheers. Thank you very much, Roger Rubio. Appreciate it. The Ranting Brummy says, Drinker, you remember the 1997 version of Snow White with Sam Neill and Sigourney Weaver? It's a dark take that's much better than it has any right to be. I do sort of remember that, yeah. Weirdly, I don't remember Sigourney Weaver in it, but I remember Sam Neill. I don't know. Maybe I've just got a thing about him ever since Event Horizon. But yeah, it did kind of stick in my head. It's been about 25 years since I've watched it, unfortunately, so I need to have another look. A Biker's Path says, Yup, it's not even about the royal institution or system or even fantasy anymore. It's about one randomly overpowered girl who has no other value than being overpowered for no reason, because that's a nice role model. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've talked obviously at great length about the problems this creates when your sole focus is just on creating a strong, empowered girl boss who doesn't really have any weaknesses. Doesn't leave a whole lot of opportunity for character growth and development, and that's the problem you often get. But it's like they just don't care. They're falling over themselves to create characters like this. And don't get me wrong. I know that, sometimes women in cinema have been not well served in the past, but that was decades ago. Things have changed a great deal, and I think you're overcompensating now. Push-Ups says, Drinker, it was great hanging with you and Cody in Houston. Thank you very much, man. It was great hanging with everyone there, so I had a great old time, from what I remember anyway. There was plenty of beers going round. Vino says, Queens want to be most just, kills Snow White. Yeah. I'm not sure I understand her logic there, yeah. I'll be the nicest person in the land by murdering someone. I am become bald, says, all hail Lord Emperor Muller. Long may he be long. I think he will be long for a very long time indeed. Bottlebound Rogue says, question for the panel. What piece of media would you like to see adapted to film that has not yet been done so? Cheers. I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, considering how adaptations have gone in recent years, I don't really want to see anything else get adapted in the current climate. Maybe 10 years from now, when perhaps the culture in Hollywood has changed a little bit and we've got a bit more balance and we can trust them, it might be better. One day I'd like to see Resident Evil get adapted for the big screen, because as far as I'm concerned, it's never been done yet. So yeah, I'd like to see that get done properly. John Canuck says, I know you guys mostly cover movies and television, but what are some of your favorite books and authors? I mean, the obvious choice would be Tolkien, I suppose. Like, that had a huge influence on me as a teenager, just like really got me into fantasy. There was one called the Earth's Children series by Gene Iles. I quite enjoyed that. That was like survival story set during the Ice Age. That was quite good. What else? I used to quite enjoy like Tom Clancy books, like the techno thriller type stuff. I liked all the geopolitical things that he did, and his speculative fiction was just really good. I think he actually predicted the collapse of the Soviet Union before it even happened, which was pretty cool. So yeah, stuff of that nature, I suppose. TKG Moth Halas says, Hail Drinker and panel, wanting to ask you guys if anyone has seen Boardwalk Empire and what they thought of it. I think it's really good, but nobody talked about it because it came at the same time of Game of Thrones. Yeah, I quite like Boardwalk Empire. I didn't get through the whole thing because there was quite a few seasons, but I like Steve Buscemi as Nucky. Yeah, like the cast was good, the performances were good. I quite like that era of sort of storytelling. So yeah, it was a good show overall. Discordian says, Ever After a Cinderella Story, 1998 with Drew Barrymore, 25 years ago. This is nothing new. Yeah, I mean, adaptations have been adaptations for a long time, I suppose. Sam Wallace Art says, what's one movie, good or bad, that you want to see adapted into a video game? Whoa, interesting. Has there been a John Wick video game? Hold on. I feel like that lends itself pretty well, especially the later ones, because they essentially are video games. Let's just check, see if there is one. John Wick, the game. Okay, no, yeah, so Lionsgate, they're currently fielding proposals for a AAA video game adaptation. Yeah, I guess I'd like to see that. It seems to lend itself pretty well. So, yeah, give us a good John Wick game. That'll do. Next one is Party Elm CV says current year. Yeah, isn't current year wonderful? Sam GK says, Mauler, will you be EFAPing Ahsoka? I don't want to speak for him, but it seems pretty likely that he will, or at least he'll be talking about it. Like, I'm pretty sure we'll cover it on Open Bar as well. I imagine everyone will be doing it to some extent. Jeff Smith says the evil queen is a childless older woman who stole her power from the king and wanted to corrupt a young woman. It's a parable about feminism. Yeah, it's funny because the original one, she was just obsessed with Snow White's looks. And it was, I think it played to the trope. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but it's like the destructive mother or something. Like it's a literary device that's been used in classic literature. And I think it plays on the tense relationships that often exist between mothers and their daughters, because, women can't ever just have apparently normal, easygoing relationships. It always has to be fraught with mutual hatred or something. But yeah, I think they wanted to alter that for the current Snow White because they didn't want her to appear too superficial or something. Fuck knows. Maybe you shouldn't have hired Gal Gadot to play her. A Biker's Path says, Critical hit the nail on the head when he said about Marvel, I think, that this is the age of snarky, snappy, ironic characters, except that she's playing one as her actual self. That's what it is. It's like when Zegler is giving those interviews, it's like she's trying to be a Marvel character. It's really weird. The problem is she's just not funny. Gurgly Tusaki says, Am I the only one who gets Amber Turd vibes from Zegler? She appears to be a narcissist who dishes out cruelty casually with a smile and switches narratives. It kind of looks that way, yeah. I think I think people wouldn't have had quite as much of an issue with her and the things she was saying if it wasn't like the obvious, like malicious glee and relish that she seems to deliver all this stuff. She really seems to be taking pleasure from the fact that they're destroying and deconstructing like one of the most iconic animated movies of all time. And I think that's what really winds people up, when you get these people acting like, ha, we're destroying another thing that you love. What are you going to do about it? Ha. It's just, it's really malicious and mean-spirited. So, yeah, I don't get what she was going for there. Riken Knight says, they hate the things that came before them because they don't like being compared to movies that were actually good. I think that's definitely true, yeah. When you don't have the actual skill to produce good stuff, just tear down the good stuff that preceded you. LaQuaran Hubbard says, what's your favourite scotch? Are you a smoky or peaty drinker? I tend to avoid the really peaty ones because they tend to become like quite hard going after a while. I like Highland Park because it's fairly measured, and I like Lagavulin because, It's definitely got some peaty smokiness to it, but it's not over the top. So those are probably my main choices, I guess. Sean Abbas says, Drinker, it was awesome to meet you at Anime Matsuri. Thank you for signing our books and taking photos with a couple of big fans. It was one of the highlights of our summer. I hope Texas treated you well despite the extreme heat. Yeah, thank you, man. It was a pleasure to meet so many people out there. And yeah, I only went outside like in the evening time just to go out for dinner or whatever, or go to the local bars. And yeah, it was starting to calm down a little bit, the temperature then. But even then, like just wearing shorts and like a loose shirt, you were still sweating. Like it was incredible heat out there in Texas. Is it like that every summer? Jesus, I don't know how you guys live. Danish cartoonist says, Drinker looking like the Deus Ex meme face. Yeah, it's the angle. It's all about the angle. Adam Peel says, Hail Drinker and Chums, been following you since Game of Thrones Season 8 and never looked back. What's your favourite Terminator movie and why is it T1? Oh, good question. Honestly, Muller and I had such a lengthy discussion about this because traditionally I've always seen T2 as like the definitive Terminator movie. But when we did a rewatch to do like a happy hour on them once, I was just really blown away by how fucking good Terminator 1 is and how much it does with pretty limited resources. Yeah, it is tough. It's obviously the original. It had less to work with, less money, less budget. But I've got such a special soft spot for T2. Robert Patrick as the T-1000 is amazing. To see Arnold playing the sort of heroic Terminator is so fucking cool. The relationship that he has with John is great. You know, Sarah Connor is just like one of the best badass female characters in cinema history. I think that just edges it out for me, but they're both fantastic movies. T1S says, Rachel's attitude gives off serious bald energy. Bald energy? What's that? I don't know what that is. Blue Collar Loser says, just got out of Blue Beetle. The CGI is good. Actual strong family message. Wasn't bad. The story was Iron Man 1 and Ant-Man 1. George Lopez is the worst part of the film. The character does have potential. Yeah, I mean, I've obviously just done my review at the time of recording this. I put that out last night. And weirdly, yeah, overall, I went into Blue Beetle just expecting it to be an absolute disaster. And I didn't hate it. I think it's more likable and it's got more charm to it than pretty much anything that Marvel have put out since freaking Endgame. The characters were generally okay. Like the sister I thought was going to be an insufferable arsehole, but she calmed down a little bit over the course of the film. Yeah, the family are a bit stereotypical, but generally they're fine. I didn't mind George Lopez either. Like, again, he was a bit over the top, but I think that's what they were going for with him. He's meant to be some crazy conspiracy theorist. And you're not meant to take him too seriously. It's all a bit convenient that he always seems to have the thing they need to progress the story. But yeah, I mean, man, overall, I think if Blue Beetle had come out like 4 or 5 years ago when superhero flicks were just at the top of the game, it probably would have done okay. As it stands, it just came out at the wrong time and everything just seemed to be against it. So I'm sure it's going to absolutely flop. But it is kind of a shame. A Biker's Path says, well, there's this illusion that there's a large base behind these fake activist acts and attitudes. I don't think the studio wanted any of this, but they won't stand in its way out of pure fear of smearing. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I think in Disney's case, they embrace it, but other studios are probably a bit more hesitant. But like you say, they'll never like speak out against it. Fang45 ACP says, Hail Drinker, have you tried out Jagged Alliance 3 yet? It's a tactical turn-based strategy game like XCOM, but with mercenaries, guns, and homages to action movies of the 80s and 90s. Check it out. Sounds pretty good. I like it. The Almost Dead Man says, fun fact, the Nazis legit made an anti-Titanic propaganda movie. They even made a small-scale replica of the ship, so your jokes aren't much of a stretch. Jesus. Green-haired anti-liberal says, wonderful meeting you at Matsuri, Drinker. Thanks for signing all 3 of our books and taking photos with us. You're as awesome in person as online. Oh, thank you. You're buttering me up with this one. Matthew Schneider says, as a German American, I'm offended by the audacity of this woman. Since Snow White is a German folktale, can I call this cultural appropriation? Yes, you can, funnily enough. The Little Mermaid is a Danish folktale, but again, it just got appropriated by Disney, and they've turned it into something with distinctly American cultural values. So yeah, interesting. They're thinking on that one. Cody Griffin says, I work 12 to 15 hours a day outside doing manual labor. I plaster swimming pools and drive a rig. I'm tired, sunburned regularly, and hurting daily. Between war wounds, fatherhood, gym, and my job, I feel 50 instead of 34. Screw entitled actors. Yeah, man. Like, people like you are doing actual real work. And yeah, you're not out on the picket line complaining about it all the time. Fear the Hammers says, I saw video by Drunk 3PO that pointed out Rachel Zegler was one of the main people attacking Gina Carano on Twitter for not using pronouns. Yeah, I didn't know that about her until I think someone else made a video about it. It wasn't 3PO's one I saw, but it was someone else pointing out the same thing. And wow, that just makes me like her even less. You know, and I feel like I've cut her a fair amount of slack recently. You know, I didn't even go after her in my video or when we've done open bars because I was, you know, thinking she's young and she's pretty inexperienced but at this whole fame thing. Maybe she's just speaking out of turn and, you know, it doesn't represent her views entirely. But I think it probably does. And she seems, based on stuff like that, a genuinely shitty person. So I don't feel too much sympathy for her at this point. Euthanasia says, don't know who in chat said it, but she is now and will forever be Rachel Zergling. Are the Zerglings from freaking StarCraft? That's an old reference. Jesus. TGV Monster says, when I started to hear about AI and the power it had, I was skeptical. But then I heard Squidward, SpongeBob, and Patrick sing the Snake Eater theme from Metal Gear Solid 3. Now I understand. Yeah, man, there's a great video of Arnold Schwarzenegger singing I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston, and it's fucking surreal but awesome at the same time. Some stupid punk says, to be fair on the house bit, here in Cali, a regular 3-bed family home is frequently over 1.3 million. Jesus Christ, guys, you need to get your housing market sorted out. That's insane. Pathkeeper says, question for the panel. What classic Disney pre-Marvel film is your favorite recommended to people who only know modern Disney? Well, I grew up during that golden age of Disney animation, you know, so things like The Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, like those were the movies I remember as a kid growing up with. And so I guess those are the ones I would recommend because I consider them even now to be great animated movies. So those would probably be the main ones. 007 Angelo says, Mauler, take notes. The doggy is outworking you, lol. Hey, Mauler works his ass off on these open bars. Grey Jedi Outcast says, Drinker, do you ever planning on doing a review of Ghostbusters 2, or at least talk about the hate that it gets? I, for one, love it and never understood the hate for it. Cheers, and have a good day. Yes, thank you. And I probably will do around October, because it seems like a good time to do it. Yeah, I am one of those people, right? I don't really get the hate that people have for Ghostbusters 2 either. It's definitely not on par with the original, but then that's a pretty high bar to reach. And I think it's just a decent, fun movie in its own right. Like, I don't have an issue with it. I would definitely watch it anytime over, like, Ghostbusters Afterlife. I consider it far better than that. So, yeah, man, I think it's an okay movie. It's not great, but it's definitely not terrible either. Dante Rage says, Snow White was supposed to look the fairest. My Deuces look more beautiful. Yeah, man, it's great, the comparison pictures between her and Gal Gadot. Like, damn, I don't think the Evil Queen's got anything to worry about. Sam Wallace Art says, loudmouth, arrogant novices are nothing new. Some break, some grow out of it. The difference is in 1950, a mentor would remind Zegor to shut the fuck up and focus. My takeaway is that no one cares to advise her. I don't know. I mean, I went on the assumption that she'd been given talking points because Gal Gadot seemed to back up everything she was saying. And so it made me think, right, they've been given some talking points that they've to emphasize about this film, how it's not going to be about the search for true love. You know, the princess isn't going to get saved by the Prince Charming. She's going to save herself, all that stuff. It just seems like Rachel Zegler was just more brash and condescending in the way she delivered that message. But I think those were just studio notes they were given. King Gilgamesh says, let's cut this other actor out of my movie because he's a man. It would be better if love was never in movies because love is bad. Rachel. Yeah, man, it's, again, I go back to the way she delivers her points. Like, what was it? Her precise phrasing. It was like, so we got this actor in our movie, and he's a great dude. Ha ha ha! Like kind of like this condescending laugh. Like he tried his best, I guess. But it would be a real shame if he just got cut out of the movie altogether. Wink at the camera. Again, that attitude, man, it is just fucking stinking. I don't get how she's like, she is not big enough or successful enough to be this arrogant. I think she's honestly scuppered her fucking career before it's even taken off. 007 Angelo says, JK, Hail Mauler and Drinker, salute gents. Thank you, sir. Robert Kearney, regarding Rachel, Culture of Narcissism, published in 1979. Yep, if you were to measure narcissistic personality disorder, she has got all the traits, man. Vimarain says, hello, Drinker, and all of the bar attendees. Once again, awesome panel, not to mention Smokey's advanced yoga video tutorials. Any movies for the rest of the year that you have some hopes for? Yeah, Smokey liked to contort himself into all kinds of positions on stream. He's a bit of an exhibitionist, I guess. One day I'm just going to give him a live stream of his own. What is left this year? Okay, upcoming. Let's see what we've got here. Upcoming movies 2023. There's got to be something left. Wonka, no. Hunger Games, fuck off. Marvels, yeah. Equalizer 3. Okay, I could be invested in that. Dune Part 2. Yeah, we talked about that. I'd be all right with watching that for sure. Anything else? Aquaman. Fuck off. That movie is gonna die. An absolutely miserable death, but yeah, probably Dune Part 2. I think will be the biggie in terms of what's going to be good. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot left over. Milo says, residuals versus upfront is BS if Hollywood claims Star Wars never made a profit. Hollywood accounting is a thing. It's very much a thing, yeah. Disney are getting sued over it right now, apparently. Sam Wallace Art. I like Poe's Law's take that Mean Girls is the purest female hero's journey. Everyone tries to change her to their needs, and in the end, she matures and solves all the problems with wit and empathy. Yeah, I think so. Like, it's been a while since I've seen Mean Girls, but I remember it was a pretty honest movie about the stupid shit that girls fall out about and how they're always in conflict with each other. And yeah, the main character finds a fairly mature solution to all this, like mostly through talking it out. And yeah, decent stuff. It's like, oh my god, a movie that can be honest, that girls sometimes have flaws and they don't always deal with things in the best way. Crazy. Ceteris Parabola says, just release it as it is. What if Snow White? Yeah, you could do that, actually. It's an alternate reality. I think at this point, I just wouldn't release it. I'd can the entire movie and just Batgirl it. The damage it's done from a PR point of view is immeasurable. Anthony DeAndrea says, didn't West Side Story bomb? Yes, it did. Snow White surely will. Rachel Zegler should be more worried about being seen as box office poison. Yeah, I mean, like, West Side Story bombed. I don't think it was necessarily her fault, but if, like, she's a much bigger part of what Snow White is and the bad attitude around it. So this is going to do huge amount of damage to her career. Confucius says, hello, gents. Sent a super chat a ways back. The first thing Rumi says, TLJ is the best Star Wars since Empire, and he's breaking the lease Monday for a new job, screwing me over. What a dick. It's difficult to separate TLJ lovers and people with crap morals. Yeah, funny that, isn't it? Yeah, your roommate sounds like an asshole, so I think you're well shot of him. Stephen Thomas says, cheers to the drinker. Cheers to you, sir. The Real Holtzinator says, the amount of fights and arguments and bad will that could have been avoided with these controversial ideas if they simply didn't have such contempt. Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. A lot of it's in the delivery. Axel's Abode says, if you feel so strongly that the Snow White film shouldn't be the Snow White film, then why even audition or be part of the process at any point? Can't guarantee it would be for someone like you. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's just the money or the opportunity, the chance to be in a high-profile film and put your own stamp on it, I guess. But yeah, like she seems to have nothing but contempt for the original story, so why try and represent a character like that? You clearly don't like her. OMG Puppies says, Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story, the original Barbie movie. Okay. Rick O'Neill. In 96, they made a modern version of Romeo and Juliet, and not only did they not change the story, they didn't change a single word. They had respect. Yeah, it was crazy that they turned it into like gang warfare and they still somehow made it work. It was impressive. Although they did change an aspect of the story when Romeo and Juliet commit suicide. They changed the timing of it slightly so that they do get to interact briefly before the poison takes hold, which was kind of a controversial choice at the time. But yeah, okay, the movie kind of made it work. Brendo Fire says, have any of you guys seen Eragon? Terrible fantasy. Yeah, I think I've seen it once and I agree, it was shit. Will Van says, what if this is all planned by Disney to get a tax break for cancelling? I mean, like I say, it would be my recommendation to cancel the movie at this point, but I don't think they're normally in the habit of doing stuff like that. It would have to be something truly wretched. I just think it's going to be very interesting when the trailer comes out. Jacko24 says, have you lost your reptilian ass mind? Oh, that fucking show. I haven't even seen it, but I've seen that clip from it. How did Samuel L. Jackson deliver a line like that? Roger Rubio, round of drinks on me, gents. Get yourself your favorite drink. I'll be having an ice cold lime Jarrito Mexican soda. Muller, I'm going to place an order on all 3 vinyls. Looking forward to it. Much love to everyone. Thank you, man. Awesome stuff. I appreciate it. Barry F says, I'm a fan of plastic. Okay. Frozen in the 80s. Hell with the plushie. When are we going to get Drinker and Muller brand whiskey? Well, I'd love to do that. The slight problem with whiskey is it takes about 12 years to mature it. So it's not something I can roll out quickly. Ceteris Parabolus says, vinyl, 360-degree views, browser window on stream. Stop breaking so much new ground. I know, it's crazy. Onibaka says, yes, a Muller vinyl. Now I finally have something to put in my jar. Those plushies just aren't the same. Very true. Fuck Google says, Muller, regarding vinyls, please make sure the character names on the stands. Okay, that's one for him, I guess. Aristan says, remember, Disney is also getting slammed in Florida for trying to prevail over the state for absolute property control, attempting to use taxpayer dollars to fund their park and district. Cheers all. Yeah, I don't know what the current status is of the Reedy Creek development, like area or something they call it. I know that, yeah, Disney used to enjoy a special tax break there because they brought so much tourism money to Florida. Then they got into a stupid fight with the governor, DeSantis, and he revoked it. And I don't know if there's an ongoing legal case on that, but if they lose that, man, that's going to kill them. The Iceman says, on the TSG thing, it started as a decade-long deal with Fox. The deal wasn't originally with Disney. It carried over from the Fox purchase. Okay, yeah, that's fair play. They inherited a lot of stuff with that. The Inner Light says, Drinker, loved your conversation with Peter Boghossian. If you now get Rob Ager on open bar, I can die in peace. Well, I can do my best, but yeah, Peter was great. It was good to talk to him. Sander Brand says, Drinker, have you seen Adam from YMS? Would like a stream of you and Adam discussing movies. I don't think Adam's too interested in talking with me somehow. And the feeling's kind of mutual. Jesus De Villa gave me a thumbs up. Thank you, man. Otter Waters says, after your Ryan Drake movie, can you remake My Fair Lady and cast Muller as Alfred P. Doolittle? He is, after all, the greatest Welshman ever put on the big screen. I'd be totally up for that. Let's see if Muller's up for it too. Rising Underdog says, someone should buy Pixar and rehire John Lasseter. I mean, yeah, it's they really lost something there, I think, when they cut him loose. Corinna says, donating half my gambling winnings tonight. Will you ever review any Sergio Leone films? Here's down payment. Yeah, definitely. More than happy to do like the Dollars trilogy and stuff. It's just finding the time. GJJ says, could NBC Universal Comcast say give us ESPN for Hulu? I don't think that would balance out, really. It's not enough. Hulu is insanely expensive for Disney. Pushups says, when I went to Cuba a few years ago, there were little kids who, the moment they learned I was an American, asked about Disney movies. Powerful brand indeed. Wow. Well, that is crazy shit. I mean, it's a worldwide recognized brand, just not for all the right reasons now. Sketch Therapy says, More loved the 4-hour 18-minute panel on why Snyder's Justice League is trash and the 2-hour 18-minute edited video on why it's garbage. Enlighten all Snyder stands. I guess go watch the video if you're interested. Alsword says, why are you so convinced that Apple would go through all that trouble? Apple buys the minds behind the successful companies, not the company itself. Who at Disney is worth that? I guess I just saw that I felt that Disney as a brand still had some value that they could exploit, but hell, maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that one. T1S says, just ordered the EFAP vinyl figures. Now I wait. Nice one, my friend. Sander Brand. Drinker, I don't know if I made myself clear. Would you be willing to take on Adam from YMS on stream to discuss modern cinema? Not really. I don't think he's that, I don't think he's very enamored with me, and I've not really got much interest in debate me, bro, and that whole, thing around it. It's just never something that's appealed to me. I don't feel like you're going to change anyone's minds. It's just you're both going to get pissed off with each other and achieve very little. Alan Paxton says, genuine question. Will Drinker or any of you be watching Monarch on Apple TV Plus? I feel there's gold there for you guys in terms of your content. I don't even have Apple TV at the moment, so I'm not going to watch that now. Alan Paxton says, Adam, I see you watching, you deviant. Okay. Charlie Kelly Esquire says, you don't understand, boomer. Snow White is colonialism. We need to smash everything that made the West and start anew. You just go back to your newspapers and grunt, grandpa. Yeah, us crazy old men remembering when things were good. Cannon Folderall, Disney and Broken Moral Compass, a truly iconic duo. Yeah, they teach us some interesting lessons these days. Sarcastic Warlock says, how about no commies in the writing room? That's basically what's being said here. Commies shouldn't be allowed in anything that influences society. You said it, not me, man. Joshua Ferdinand says, hey, Drinker, Mahler, and Pano, have you seen the Korean show Bloodhounds? Has some good action and characters, definitely better than current Marvel. I mean, that's a pretty low bar, really, but yeah, I haven't seen Bloodhounds, I'm afraid. Casper says, all right, folks, you don't have to answer, but what are your thoughts on the massive amounts of migrants coming into EU nations? I don't know enough about it, mate. I just talk about movies. Sorry. Campbell Patterson says, hey, Drinker, you saved my life. At the start of this year, I lost my job, got financially exploited, verbally abused, and I felt like ending my life. Jesus, man. But your mad charisma kept me going, and now I have a job that I like. Thank you. Well, congratulations to you, man. I'm glad you've turned things around. And, man, if you got a little bit of entertainment from me along the way, then I'm glad I could help. Mr. Bean says, hey, Drinker, Mahler, and Pano, given your novels, have you ever watched Burn Notice, spy show from 2007 to 13? Not sure if it's a guilty pleasure or if I just liked it. Plenty of bikini shots, though. Yeah, I watched a bit of Burn Notice, and I quite liked it. I never got fully into it, but I remember it being pretty good. And yeah, I know what you mean about the bikini shots. Excellent. Taker610 says, Drinker, can we get a weird head tilt from you? Not right now, because I'm not on camera, but I don't know. How do you do a weird head tilt? I don't know how you do that. Simio4 says, hey, Drinker, my housemate and good friend Mikey is going through a pretty rough time in life right now. He's an aspiring scriptwriter, but lacking the motivation. Can you give him your best? Tell him to go away now. Okay. Mikey, you've got to get on with your fucking screenwriting, so go away now. There you go. Oliver Morgan says, the only advertising I've seen for Blue Beetle was on Instagram ads, and their big tagline was, he's a superhero. No shit. Yeah, Jesus. They really haven't gone in for this one. Raminosaurus Rex says, hey, bar attendants, I wanted to ask Mahler if the EFAP crew were thinking of reacting to Spider-Man Lotus. It's special cringe. What is Spider-Man Lotus? Is it an animated movie or something? Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, it might be one for them, I guess. Wynn Edwards says, I don't know, Sound of Freedom was a great superhero movie. Okay. Holy Ozone, can bet that they're already planning Blue Beetle 2. Hard to see this working out for them. Yeah, I don't think there's any plans for a Blue Beetle 2, sadly. Irish Trash says, the George Lopez Show, superhero episode, with a bigger budget. Yeah. Slaglust says, here's 5 for the Goomba. Don't ask Camelot what that means. Oh, I've got to ask him now. R2 says, Blue Beetle's Latino lead marketing is the standard playbook now, so they can preemptively claim racism as the reason for its failure. It seems like it a little bit, but it seems like an odd a pretty specific group to market to, because I don't imagine there's like that many of them that it's like mass market appeal. Like, shouldn't you just market to everyone? I don't know. Call me crazy there. West Van Katz says Rangers or Celtic? Neither, since I'm not from Glasgow, so it doesn't really apply to me. Insidious says, Drinker, can you please make a don't know mug? Yes, I can. I need to get that guy shrugging image as well. Shaker Silver says, introduce a big hero, then small ones off the back of that. Disparu described the Snyderverse. No plan is surefire. Would Iron Man be someone's first choice? Well, true. I mean, it wasn't a well-known character at the time, I guess, but they hit gold with that one. They were very lucky. They produced a really good movie, and it really took off. It could have gone horribly wrong, for sure, and that would have been the end of the MCU before it even began. L. Moranic says, Harley Quinn Barbie mashup directed by James Gunn. It needs to happen. Oh, the fun you could have. Lewis Kryku says, as a Power Rangers fan, I'm gutted that 2017 didn't get a sequel. A flawed film, but way better superhero film than some other crap in recent years. Yeah, again, that's not a hard thing to do, but yeah, I guess I don't know much about the Power Rangers movies. Guyver Mecton says, Smokey fans when? Oh, it'll happen, don't you worry. Sanderbrand says, I've seen my nieces grow up in the woke age. What if you actually talk to them? No girl boss action. They're afraid to end up alone. No man left. So what if you actually talk to them? No girl boss action. They're afraid to end up alone because no man left. So what, are they afraid that they're going to grow up alone? Or is that what the writers are afraid of? I'm not sure from that, but yeah, I feel bad for kids growing up in the current era of cinema. Little Blizzard says, just finished Something to Die For on Audible. Cried bittersweet tears. Such a terrific ending. Oh, thank you. Love the series so much. I'm starting over again. Thanks, Drinker. Cheers. Well, I really appreciate that, man. I'm glad you enjoyed Something to Die For. Yeah, it was a struggle to bring it all to a conclusion in a way that would be satisfying for people, hopefully. So I'm glad I did an okay job. Apollo 95 says, evening, gents. Would you and Mahler consider doing a commentary of the Battlestar Galactica 3-hour miniseries, which turns 20 this year? So say we all. Jesus, is that 20 years old? Well, I had an existential moment there. It's like, I feel really old all of a sudden. I still think of Battlestar Galactica as being a relatively recent thing, but damn, 20 years ago. Yeah, it'd be interesting to look back on it now, I guess. Capital Lunar says, Neil Druckmann managed to gaslight people into believing he was the main guy responsible for The Last of Us' success, even though he quite literally stole the credits from Bruce Straley, who did most of his job. Yeah, I heard that, actually. He only got really creative control for the second one, and look how that turned out. I'm pretty sure he stole creative control from the Uncharted series as well. It was a woman who'd wrote the first three. And then Neil... And that's my phone going off. Whoops. And then Neil took over for, the last one. And that's the one that people kind of look down on. Ian Soforth says, I'll miss feminist frequency. I wouldn't. I wouldn't even have known to stare at Lara Croft's arse until they told me that it was a good idea. Yes, thank you, feminist frequency. We owe you so much. But yeah, thank you for the donation, man. That was £50. Matt317 says, hey, Drinker at Camelot. Happy to see you both at AM. Anime Matsuri, sorry. I was the guy in the hat, glasses, and Sabaton shirt. Nice. Glad you all made it home safely. Cheers, guys. Thank you, man. And yeah, Matsuri was great fun. I really enjoyed it. 1990 BJK says, even Halle Bailey had the sense to pretend that she liked Ariel growing up. No idea what the strategy with Rachel Zegler is. That's true, yeah. She was smart enough to stay relatively quiet about all this stuff, and I don't think she got too much flack. Whereas, yeah, Rachel's taken the opposite approach. The Master says, critical Drinker, I, Hideo Kojima, resent your slanderous claim that I, Hideo Kojima, only became... I'm not gonna say this how you've written it. Only became popular because I, Hideo Kojima, had a good editor and not because my writing is unblemished brilliance. I'm sorry, Hideo Kojima. You're truly the genius that we deserve. Sander Brand says, Drinker, why does LP sounds like an audiobook while the rest sounds like a live stream? Is there any way to get the audio quality of Little Platoon? Share setups. Yeah, good question. I'm not sure what his microphone setup is. I thought we were coming through okay, but maybe not. Yatokun says, Smokey needs some pants. Nah, Smokey's free and easy, as always. He just, he's got no shame. KeyJX says, should Disney let people be in a movie that's true to their heritage, like Snow White is white German, but the woman that's playing her is Colombian? What do you think? Yeah, I mean, generally, if it's a European fairy tale, particularly with Snow White, when she's specifically described as having skin as white as snow, I would probably be inclined to cast a white actress that can play her properly. And I definitely wouldn't want to cast Rachel Zegler in anything because, wow, what an attitude. The Real Holtzinator. Speaking of Scott Pilgrim versus the World ruined a whole generation of women by Negative XP is a great song if you like parodies. Thanks, Dev, aka Short Fat Otaku, for introducing me to it. Nice, I'll need to give that a watch. Silmaris says, for Drinker, how mad would you be if Pixar remade Brave, which is set in Scotland, and cast some Black American as Merida? She is a redhead after all. That's true. She's next on the chopping block. Yeah, man, I think I'd be fascinated to see how they try and sell that one because they probably will do it. They'll probably remake Brave at some point. Linzers says, any of you checked out What If Star Wars The Force Awakens was awesome yet? I'm curious to know what all of you think of the fan fiction flooding YouTube. Oh, right. Okay. They've got remade versions of it, I guess. Alex Future says, twin pack of co-op kitchen towels on me. Okay. Jason, the old millennial, says, Disparu was my gateway drug to the critical drinker and nerdrotic because I was so angry with Wheel of Time and wanted to find people like me. Thank you. Well, there we go. Thank you, Disparu, for introducing this guy to us. Cooper Johnson says, cheers, lads. I can't drink, but have one on me. Also, what do you think of the new Superman show and or what do you guys think about Transformers? I mean, I lost interest in Transformers several movies ago. It was just always more of the same. There's only so many giant robots punching each other that I can take. And the Superman show, apparently it was quite good. I never watched it, but people were saying like, yeah, this is the first one that they've really nailed. Like it's actually quite decent. And they did justice to Superman. So nice, I guess. Brent Neindorf says, tip of the cap for the Last Jedi video where Rose Tico was actually a double agent for the First Order. Nearly pissed myself. Cheers. That's an old one, that. Yeah, I remember making that. It's the only way I can explain her behavior in that movie. Matrix user says, Jam, a man of fortune, and Jay must seek my fortune. Henry Averis, 1994. Also, Mahler, have you watched the new Futurama yet? I don't know if he has, to be honest. I don't think he's a huge fan of it, though. Nino Marocci says, Drinker, your channel is one of my favorite on YouTube. Keep up the great work at criticizing woke Hollywood. Thank you, man. I will. Jeffrey Hallam says, while I've got some writers here, I would love to see a movie written based on the logbooks of the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia. Any reason not to do that? Love realism in historical movies. So those are the two ironclads that fought each other during the Civil War, aren't they? The Monitor and the Virginia. No idea what the logbooks would say, but I imagine it'd be something along the lines of, why do our shells keep bouncing off that other iron ship? I'm pretty sure they just blasted away at each other for hours and their armor was so thick that neither one could penetrate the other. So they just kind of like left and went home. It'd be an interesting battle to watch. Regeneration Nation TV says, my wife and I love and respect the content that you put out so much. We have a fear of speaking about these things. Any advice on overcoming this fear? One, I would say more people probably agree with you than you think, but they're just afraid to say it as well. And two, the easier way is to just ask people questions. You know, like, I don't know, say someone comes up to you and says that I think The Last Jedi is the greatest Star Wars movie ever. Rather than saying, no, you're full of shit, you can say, oh, okay, cool. Why do you feel that way? And, you know, point out certain things about it. Like, you know, didn't you feel like that whole trip to the casino planet was a little bit pointless? Did you think that added to the movie? Just stuff like that, and just like let them come to their own realization, because most of the time they will. White Butter says, "Hey, Critical Drinker, did you see the fake comments on the Marvels trailer?" No, I didn't. I'm not sure what they are. Are they all saying like this looks like the best movie ever? OMG, I'm so excited. If so, yeah, probably using bots. Toilet Seat Belt says, "Now that it's had time to sit, would you say that God of War Ragnarok was better than God of War 2018? Furthermore, which was the better OST?" I mean, I think the OSTs were brilliant for each of them. I don't remember disliking any of the tracks in them. In terms of which is better, it's tight, but I think Ragnarok's probably better. Like, I think Atreus is much more developed. The relationship between him and Kratos has matured, and yeah, overall, just thought it was a fantastic game. The story really got me. Tevin Daniels says, "Evening Drinker, I'm nearly finished the first draft of my novella. My question is, what do you like more in a story? Characters, setting, lore, etc.?" Well, for me, the story always starts with the characters. If I'm not invested in the characters, then I'm not going to care about anything else that happens in the story. So that's the main thing. All the other things are important, though. I love a story with an interesting setting that's got, consistent lore that you can explore over the course of the story, like that sets things up so that you actually want to learn more stuff. That's really the core of a good novel, I suppose. Archangel says, "So many people seem to forget that Ethan used to actually be good back in the day." Is that Ethan Klein? Were we talking about him at some point? I think so. Yeah, I think he was. Like, he was a bit more edgy and real. Now, then he became corporatized. Angel Fire says, "More, where's the epic battle with Mr. Biggles?" Ooh, I don't know. You have to ask him. And Ethan Rackham says, "Muller, is Wolfram and Hart stupid or smart, not counting their plans for season 5? Let me see. Is this... What is Wolfram and Hart? Oh, the Buffyverse, right. Yeah, that's from Angel, is it? Oh, I can't answer that one, unfortunately. Muller's the expert on all that stuff. But anyway, that is the final super chat from the other night. So, well, thank you for you guys. I don't have Baller here to have some final banter with before we go. So I'll just say I really appreciate all the super chats that you sent in. I've done my best to answer them all as best I can. And hope I've kept you entertained for the past 45 minutes or so. But yeah, I guess I'm going to get ready for the next open bar, get our guests sorted out, and rather than leaving it to the last minute like I always do. But for now, at least, that's all I've got for today. So go away now.